Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today's episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk is brought to you by Chevalier Cask. If you're in need of bulk spirits, new oak, or used barrels, then Chevalier Cask is here to help. We also have access to whatever type of spirits that you need. Our American, Spanish, European, and French oak barrels are handcrafted by multi-generational family-owned cooperages in Europe. These barrels are of the highest quality. They are tight and made from wood seasoned for over 24 months. We can also help you find financing for all your full or empty barrel needs. We can also buy your freshly dumped barrels and help you find them a new home. You can find us at www.chevaliercask.com.
Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk.
I'm your host, Scott Minton.
And today we're sitting at the Old Foe VIP Tasting Room Lounge.
I guess I'm really Scott Minton, but I really appreciate the legend jumping in on that. Thanks a lot, Legend. So anyway, we are actually at Old Forester. This is our Birthiversary, so this is our 4-year anniversary / birthday for Bourbon Barrel Talk, and our friend Tyler was just gracious enough to let us use the VIP tasting lounge here at Old Forester, and we're going to taste through a few things, and we're going to celebrate, the last 4 years and talk probably more about the last year of what we've done. But I'm sure we'll have some good questions to ask Tyler about the 12 Days of OFO we did a few years ago. So here we go. So let's start off. Tyler, welcome, and thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, good to be back, Scott. Thanks for having me.
I'm super
Welcome
excited.
to Old Forester.
So we've got some 117. We're gonna nip on here to begin with. This is the bottled and bond.
The underground cellar at Old Foe that no one knows about, by the way. Really appreciate that.
There's so much crazy stuff up here.
Yeah, guys,
I can't believe there's a Neptune bottle on the table.
No, dude, hey, we said we weren't going to talk about that.
Oh, my bad. There's not really a Neptune on the bottle. I wish there was, but there's not.
What are all these dusty old casks with all the cobwebs?
Yeah. So you age them in the wall. That's interesting.
Absolutely. So anyway, Tyler, what's going on? What's new with ODFO?
Man, all kinds of stuff. It's been a year of transition, if you will. Former Master Taster Jackie Zykin, she departed. She's doing her own thing and loving it, I might add. She's killing it out at Hidden Barn. And so the rest of us kind of, held the fort down. And almost a year ago, we hired our new Master Taster, Melissa Rift, who is phenomenal. Love working with her.
She's amazing.
Cat.
She really is. I've met her twice, just in kind of passing at like events and different. Dude, she's a pistol. I like Melissa.
We're actually in our office that we share together, and I couldn't have asked for a better, coworker. She's genuine, down to earth, as you mentioned, a pistol, and super talented. So
I met her a couple times.
Future's bright. Yeah.
I met her a couple times at another location, and really enjoyed her knowledge and excitement about the bourbon industry. And
exactly. Very passionate. She brings that every day. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what we're drinking. This is the 117. This is the bottled and bond. What do they say the tasting notes are supposed to be? I've already got my mouth full. So where are you at on this thing?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have had this yet. This is the most recent iteration of the 117 series, which is our distillery only series. It lets us celebrate innovation and unique expressions, kind of a peek behind the scenes as to what goes on with regard to R&D. And, a lot of distilleries, those may never see the light of day. So we decided with this series to be able to showcase whether it's half-full barrels or, barrels that are very low yield or certain warehouses. There's a lot of talk in the industry with regard to, this bottle's from warehouse H or this bottle's from warehouse K, but they're single barrels, and there's 40 to 50 different trees involved in that barrel, and no single barrel can personify a warehouse's traits and personalities, right? So we decided to take barrels from all different levels of certain warehouses and kind of showcase the attributes of those different warehouses. So we've been able to do that. We have done our versions of double oaked and double oaked with the 1910 extra old and extra old series. And then this is a bottled and bond, which we already have.
Yeah.
We already have 1897 bottled and bond, but the tie-in to this building where we are and this brand with bottled and bond, a lot of those ideas were fostered with this brand. we decided to kind of go big on it. So traditionally when we make 1897, it's 4.5 year. Of course, it's all from one season, right? But this, we took it basically double that time. This is 9 year. This was all distilled the spring of 2014. And when you combine that with our heat cycling process, you're talking effectively like a 15-year bottled in bond. So,
yeah, I mean, it's got so much richness to it, and it's got great, legs and everything else that you want in a bottled in bond.
Based on that process, Scott, you're 168 years old. So.
My liver is. I don't know about me, but my liver definitely is.
I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier before we get too deep into this bottle. So you had specified that it didn't matter what rickhouse the barrel came from because the wood obviously differentiates from barrel to barrel. But we all know a lot of bourbon nerds out there love barrels from specific warehouses. So Four Roses, for example, they love a specific warehouse there, Wild Turkey. And even you guys, there's a couple warehouses they prefer over others. Maybe give just a little bit of education as to why that doesn't matter so much for these smaller series.
I mean, I think it matters to an extent.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that depends on where they are in those warehouses. If you're at the corner of a certain warehouse or at the top or at the bottom, the bottom of a warehouse will have softer, rounder edges. The top, obviously, more aggressive interaction with the wood, more tannins, more spice notes and attributes. But I think a lot of distilleries, when you're talking about single barrel, there's certain areas of warehouses that we kind of pull from for our large batches and whatnot, and then others that you're pulling for single barrel allocations and lots and stuff like that. So you get some consistency within barrel programs and whatnot. And I can't speak for every distillery whether or not they're using the same lots over and over again, and kind of just rotating out throughout the years. But certain warehouses do, manifest slightly differently, but the main point is just that barrel you can't say, oh, every barrel I taste from this warehouse, I know it's from that warehouse.
Right.
Because there's still, even in our own rick houses, you can drill two barrels, one right next to each other, and they're completely different. Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and drill into these barrels, and we're going to do this experiment, and we're going to see you guys later.
Go ahead, Legend.
Do you have any expectation with regard to the barrels that are stored here in terms of how they will come out versus your other warehouses?
That is a great question. Nutshell, no. And I'll tell you why. So we actually moved the rest of our 2018 barrels out of here this spring to maybe encourage them a little bit. We kept a few. The first 5 barrels that we filled are still in the rick house here. And we've done some fun experiments, especially Melissa and I have tasted all 5 of those barrels that were filled day one, the first distillation run that we had. And I can tell you that at 5.5 years, they're drinking younger than our 3-year traditional heat cycled barrels. So it's almost like a dunnage warehouse in Scotland, right? That median temperature, 68 to 72 degrees all year round. Atmospheric pressure is really the only thing influencing the flux in, flux out of the barrel. So 5.5 years in here is more like 2 in our heat cycled traditional warehouses. So, these things might go
18,
8, 10, 12.
18, 19 maybe.
Well, yeah, to an extent, but they're also evaporating all year round. So
yeah.
It'll
Are
be
you
a
seeing
balance.
a lot of evaporation, though?
Well, yeah, there's no dormant period, right? It's you constantly got people walking through here. The heat and the air conditioning are constantly cycling on and off throughout the year. So they are evaporating all year round. So we're losing.
Do you have any idea how much you've lost in 5 years?
We don't. No, we haven't. Never taken them out to weigh them or anything like that. But we'll just have to see. We're going to keep tabs on them. I can tell you they're nowhere near ready yet. They're good. The distillate is great. Tastes like Old Forester. So
that's all we can ask for, right?
Yeah, but
imagine that.
And,
well, that's
and,
a good
and
sign.
To your point, the barrel on the left is barrel number 1. It's very smooth. It's got rich fruity notes. It's delicious, but it's got hardly any color. The barrel on the other side, 3 barrels down from it, barrel 5 is extraordinarily deep in color, but it's still pretty raw and green. And the only difference is the barrels. So,
Gotcha.
kind of a good example, I guess.
Yeah.
The best one I can give you, and that's just right here in this rick house without any other influences whatsoever.
So really, it is that experimentation that you're working with these particular barrels.
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling what we'll do with that stuff. If ideally, maybe we could do a 117 or a single barrel with some of those first barrels, but if it doesn't come to fruition and it's not the Old Forester standard, I mean, who knows what we'll do with it?
Who knows? That's
There's
right.
always lighter fluid and medicinal rubbing alcohol. I don't think it'll get to that point.
Hand sanitizer.
But no, I mean, we wish it well. We're hoping for a good result, but Old Forester's never been aged that way in 153 years. So
Right.
there's no telling. We're not sure what we're going to do with that.
That's fair. 100%. So tell us a little bit more about the things that are coming up. Are there any other 117s that are already been TTB'd out or anything like that? And then I know that the other one is 1924 that's supposed to be hitting the market sometime in the near future.
Right. I don't. I do this for a living, so I don't really follow TTB. I can't tell you if there are other labels out there for approval. I can tell you 117 will be an ongoing series. There is no plans to halt this. We love it. It's fun for us. It's fun for the consumer. I think we've done a great job in making it available where we actually make enough of it to where, if you want to get your hands on it, you can. There are multiple avenues here at the distillery as well as secondary and whatnot where you can usually get your hands on one. So
Yeah. And you all sent some out to retail too. I mean, I think I heard that Cox's and a few other places that had it.
I don't know. I'm not on that side of it, but I just know that we'll throw them out. I think we've averaged about 4 or 5 a year at this point, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah.
Now I know you stressed.
This is 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is 8, and we've been doing it for 2.5 years. So.
Now, you will ship some of these online to certain states, correct?
Yeah, our DTC, or what we call direct to consumer, is kind of in its infancy at this point, but there are certain states, I think there's 5 states at this point, that we're allowed to ship to, so we're kind of dipping our toe in that and working out kinks and whatnot, where they can sign up. It's a lottery. You win the right to purchase, and if you're in one of those states, we can ship you that bottle. So that's been a lot of fun to see, what the future may hold. I don't know how far America is from everyone having that access, but it'll be interesting.
So a lot's changed since we did the 12 days of ODFO.
Man, when was that? 2020, 2021?
2021, I think. So it might have been 2020. I don't even remember. I think it was 2021. But anyway, lots changed.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you guys. I've been busy, and yeah.
Do you have a new favorite baby? I mean, all the 117s have dropped since then. You've had a lot of single barrels, some new birthday bourbons, things like that. So,
right. The first ever 117, the High Angel Share 1, is still one of my all-time favorites because that was the first time we ever did it. You had a batching of various ages of barrels. They were all less than 20% yield, and it's just so compacted and tight. That is one that's really fun to add drops of water to because it just unravels and changes with each and every drop, and each and every 5 minutes worth of oxygen that gets in there, it just continues to kind of unfold. It's just got all these layers. So that one was always a lot of fun for me. This Bottled in Bond I love. And I don't know, I also loved the extra old.
Okay.
So kind of that 1910 that we let go a full year in barrel, a full extra year. So just like double oak does. And it's really fun to see the transition between what is 1910 and then what manifested in extra old, because at that point it starts to get these rich cocoa coffee notes. It's always kind of the thing that cracks me up is there's a lot of double oaked lovers out there, right? So everybody knows Woodford double oaked, and double oaked is the one that everybody clamors for. But an extra year in barrel it's different. The first year you leach out a lot of the sugars and it gets extra color and it's nice and sweet and confectionery, but another year you're starting to grab barrel tannins. You're starting to develop spicy aldehyde notes. So double is wonderful, but it's not if you absolutely just love double oaked because of that sweetness. Double may not be your cup of tea. It's a pretty
100%
serious
right.
bourbon.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Double is a very serious pour of whiskey. So yeah, it's kind of fun to see how that dynamic changes, even though it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one thing that whenever I've tried, the 1910 extra old and the extra old, like it's got some wood. I mean, you can taste it, and it's definitely a lot richer and more of a complex flavor profile than your typical 1910. Because Matt and I are both 1910 lovers. I mean, it's just one of our favorite everyday go-tos. So, all right.
As someone on the retail side of things, the 1910, the double oaked, double oaked, asked for every day.
Really? Wow, that's amazing to hear.
and not only the Old Forester, but the Woodford side of it as well. People love that stuff, and it goes out the door. I say it goes out the door every day.
I mean, I feel like it would have to, because it really does appeal to most drinkers who, let's say, you don't have the most extensive palate out there, right? You appreciate the sweetness of the double oak with kind of the lower proof of just a normal whiskey. So you kind of get the best of both worlds when it comes to something like that. So it really appeals to a more mass market and gets more people interested into whiskey, right? And whiskey wasn't made for everyone to drink at barrel strength. Now, I will tell you I love it, but it wasn't made that way for everyone to drink it all the time. So you got to start somewhere, and I think those are great places for everybody to start at. But just save some for the rest of us. We love it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, those whiskeys are getting new drinkers into bourbon. They're great segues.
If I have a woman at our tasting bar and she wants a recommendation, it's 1910, and that sells a lot of bottles because it hits the point. The sweetness, the low proof, really nails it for ladies who aren't really into bourbon.
You sure it's not just that natural swagger that you got going on, too?
They'd probably listen to anything you said.
Well,
Of course they do.
of course, but
He said, "I'm selling whiskey, though, fellas.
He's trying to be
I'm
humble.
not
He's
selling the
trying to be
legend. I'm
modest.
selling
Yeah.
the whiskey."
I'm bashful.
Yeah, that's the last thing.
They
I've
can't
heard.
afford his prices for himself.
No, but to
If
your
you have
point,
to ask, you can't afford.
yeah, I mean, to your point, what's changed the last 2 years is Stephen hit the nail on the head. Growth has continued. I mean, across.
So I think when we did that one, I think you said something about that Old Forester had grown from 300,000 cases to 1 million cases. So where's it at today?
No,
Or was
well,
it you grown from like 100 to 300 and you were
correct? Yeah, that's one of the amazing parts of this story is Old Forester was a 1 million case brand in 1970, right? So just south of what Woodford Reserve is today. And, over the course of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, bourbon was not a priority. It was Bartles and James wine coolers, Merlot, Zima. Zima.
Zima.
One word I thought I'd never hear on this.
Vodka and flavored vodka, anything but bourbon for 40 years almost, right? So, and even within Brown-Forman, our focuses had transitioned, focuses on wine, focuses on Jack Daniels, building that brand up to the icon that it is today. Woodford Reserve in the early 90s. So, believe it or not, there was even a time where it was discussed, should we discontinue Old Forester? And thankfully, the Brown family is, they're still majority shareholders, and they actually said, no, this is the founding brand of Brown-Forman, so we're not going to DC it. We're actually going to reinvigorate it. And that is why they spent a whole lot of money on this building we are sitting in today. So the revitalization of Whiskey Row, the Whiskey Row series, the quality that's getting out there, people like yourselves, as well as all the bartenders who have rallied behind Old Forester, utilizing it in their wells and signature cocktails and whatnot. This brand has just experienced a phenomenal, rising from the ashes and resurgence. So At one point, we had fallen from 1 million cases to 93,000 cases, and this year we will eclipse 500,000. And these doors have been open for 5 years, which
That's
is
amazing.
far outpaces, what we could have ever dreamed of.
Yeah, from 93,000
So-
to 500. I mean, that's 5 times growth.
Fantastic.
And I
growth,
think
yeah.
the point I made last time was this is whatever you do. If you sell 1 million cases of paper plates and you fall to less than 100,000, your company's on hospice, essentially. It is very hard to rebound all the way back to that 1 million case mark after taking that kind of a dip. And this is expected to be one of those very rare brands that will make that turn, have that resurgence, which is so it's a lot of fun to be a part of, right? Just to see the growth and see everyone rallying behind a brand that's kind of an American icon. Brands that have been around as long as us include, they're few and far between. Liam Perrin's Worcester, Tabasco sauce, Heinz. Had we not had Prohibition, 2 world wars, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I mean, this brand might be an American icon like you think of some of those. But we're
It tastes
coming
way
back.
better than ketchup. And I love ketchup.
I saw Heinz had a pickle-flavored ketchup just released, so maybe they'll do a whiskey-flavored ketchup.
Oh, good. Just
Better
what
than
I need.
pickle flavored
There's
whiskey.
there's a commercial for it, yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, so thinking back along the year here, gentlemen, ladies, everybody, do we have a favorite moment, a favorite episode?
I like the fact that someone in this room doesn't know what Zima is.
Listen, dude, Jared doesn't know what his britches are. He's like, "What are britches?" I'm like, "Your pants, dog." He's like, "Oh, my bad."
I don't wear pants.
You don't wear pants. Maybe you don't wear
I
underwear.
can't see beyond the table, but I can't tell. I'm not sure.
That's how we got into the predicament 9 months ago.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He tripped and fell.
So does anybody have a moment that like is? I bet I can pick Jared's.
Okay.
I was still pondering, but
You're
sure,
still pondering?
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
No.
go ahead and pick mine.
No, I'm not going
mine.
to pick it. I'm just.
No,
I'm
pick it.
saying I bet I can tell your favorite moment from this year. It was a
No.
visit.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm not gonna specify.
it's all good. It's all good. But it's funny that when you get those things, it was actually.
Can you enlighten the rest of us, though?
It was at Oak Carter. We had a great time at Oak Carter.
Oak
Fantastic
Carter was
time.
awesome.
So we talked to them, and I think that was for our 200th episode. So another milestone for the podcast. So it was a nice event for us to get through that one. But I always laugh because I sometimes I'm like, I know what your favorite was. So
Is it just of like all time or just of?
no,
like,
just the last year.
Oh.
I know what your probably favorite of all time is, but
Which
but
one? No, which one?
I'm gonna say Spirits of French Lick, but
That was a great time. My other favorite time is when Toby fell asleep. In
oh,
the middle
dude,
of the podcast.
yes, yeah. So our third founder, literally, we drank so much by about 20 minutes into the podcast because we pre-gamed a little bit, fell
Little bit.
asleep, fell
like,
asleep
like on the table,
on the table,
like mic on and
drool
everything.
coming out, like the whole 9 yards.
Hey man, you okay?
Out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will never forget that.
So yeah, but that wasn't in the last year though.
No, it wasn't. I'm just saying, like, Spirits of French, like, obviously was
Fair enough.
great.
I'll tell you what, yeah, absolutely. So
That was the only hour and a half that we're just Scott's like, well, I'm not editing any of this. It's
no,
just gonna go.
It was gold. It was liquid gold.
I don't. We must have drank that entire bottle.
We drank about 90% of 90%
No,
full
to the
bottle.
whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing was gone.
What was the bottle?
I don't know.
It was, what was it
It
called?
was a 5-year that was like finished in port or something.
Yeah, it was called
It was
like
the Legend's favorite finish. port.
Ambition or
Blech.
something. It was some kind of a weird thing, but yeah.
But it was the end of the barrel that the bottle was from the end of the barrel.
Right.
And it was just like,
And while they were filling it up, it literally, instead of filling up to, the part of the neck where it's supposed to be, it was just underneath the neck.
they were like, can't
And
put it
they're
in the
like, can't
case.
put it in the case. So
Yeah.
let's just try it. And I'm like, okay. And the next thing you know, like I look down at 40 minutes into the podcast, and there's like a half an ounce or an ounce left
and then
in
I
40
think
minutes. And there was 4 of us there.
Alan went to go get a drill, and he's like, time to get some more whiskey.
So he starts taking it right out of the barrel. So yeah, great time. Not good for me or Matt.
Not good for any of us. It was a great time.
Fair enough. So what do you got down there, Legend? Do you have a favorite Favorite episode or favorite time this year?
Just the ones I've been a part of.
Just the ones you've been a part of? Wow. I see how it is.
You're not
Shouldn't enjoy
bashful
it.
or anything.
Carl still thinking?
Mine would probably still be Turkey Talk from last Thanksgiving.
Last Thanksgiving, all right.
I thought it was really cool to have the guys out from 291 out in Colorado
Okay,
show
yeah,
up.
that was a cool
That was
episode.
a really great
That was
episode.
fun.
And the
Yeah.
hazmat was wonderful.
Crazy, yep. Kofi?
I don't know if it was my favorite, but when we added toasted marshmallow to some of those bourbon drinks, it's quite memorable. Not in a good way, but yeah, that. I guess I have a moment that I hate the most in the last
I
year.
repressed that. Thank you, Kofi.
Toasted marshmallow like syrup or
No, we
Legitimately toasted
yeah,
marshmallows.
we did some cocktails over the summer, and we were like just trying to come up with different things. And Barbara has been our local cocktail expert, and she wanted to try something different. And one of the drinks that she made, did that one have Embryana in it? I can't remember. My brain is so.
The s'mores did not.
The s'mores did not. Okay, so but
Yeah.
anyway, the s'mores like cocktail had a toasted marshmallow on it, and it was like either you loved it or you were like, yeah, it's a little weird. So it's one of those catch-22s.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Toby, just
So I'm going to hop in here real quick. One of my favorite episodes, it was one of the cocktails. I enjoyed all of those episodes partially because I created the cocktails. But my other favorite was I got Kofi here to question whether or not he could cuss on this podcast when I made the Snickerdoodle.
oh yeah,
cocktail.
So the Snickerdoodle did have Embryana.
That one was
Yeah.
Embryana.
That was a good.
And
one.
he was like, you either hit Snickerdoodle or you don't. And he's like, damn.
So absolutely, that's kind of funny. Any other ones? Nope. All right, fair enough. Fair
I will
enough.
say another memorable moment. Another
This is why we can't have nice things.
memorable moment was going over to Toby's.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, they that was some tomfoolery for that night for sure. So they made me do a bunch of videos that I ended up deleting because I'm so fat on camera. I was like, I just couldn't even post them. So
You couldn't understand yourself in half of them.
I could absolutely understand myself.
No, the rest of us couldn't.
Whatever. You didn't even hear them. Why do you make stuff up?
I would never.
Whatever. Slacker. Anyway, all right. So we brought a few things for you to try, Tyler. So we wanted to have a little fun with you.
Goodies.
And one is a 79 OFO that I procured a little bit ago. So we're going to pour that around. And you take the biggest pour, and then everybody else has had it here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, where do you think the bottle went?
Yeah,
a lot.
Well, anyway, and then I know we've got some other things here too to try out. But
We have
we're
nothing
gonna go
else
through
here.
That one.
Nothing. I
So
think that bottle's older than you. Yeah, that one.
bottle's definitely older than. It's older than no, yeah, just him.
Yeah. Just
Actually, it's older than you.
no?
79.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4 years older than you. 5 years.
85, baby.
It's way more than that.
Is it? Oh, that never mind.
It's 11.
I was thinking Josh's age. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. 11 years.
It's
yeah.
11 years older than me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my birth year.
You were
so,
born in
yeah.
90?
The 79 is.
Yes.
Well, look at that. That's
I'm actually older than
even
you.
even
Holy
more
shit.
special.
I know, right? My birthday's coming up this month, so
Here, I've had it. Kofi,
I got a month and a half left.
yeah.
Joke's on you. I'm older than all of you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great joke.
In dog years.
That's a great joke.
Right.
Fair enough. So, tell us what you think about the old
Am
Dusty.
I,
I know you've had to have had some old Dusties from OFO
Hey.
over the years.
Permission to.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Kill it out.
Oh yeah, I love these. Especially the old dimple bottles. Like the only time we ever did that was like 67, 68 through 1980, I believe.
I'm just really glad you made enough dimples for all of the fingers.
I tell you, that's one of the reasons I love the bottle when I found it. So it's funny. I found this on the secondary market.
I think I
And-
found it for you on the second.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
100%.
somebody found it. Anyway,
I did.
and the guy he's like, yeah, and I'm like, by the way, it's coming back from Germany.
It's
And I'm like,
German, yeah.
All right, let's take it. So that I had to buy it. I just had to. So it went well. So, but cheers, everybody.
It's missing just the pinky.
Sluncha.
What's German? Nostrovia? Nostrovi?
No, that's Russian.
Prost. Thank
Prost.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Here on Hooked on Phonics.
It is a German. It is a German bottle. So Prost. Yeah.
Prost.
Sampai.
Yeah.
Is that like Japanese? Senpai?
Yes.
Gotcha. There's all kinds of cheers.
Well,
So
I'm glad we killed it tonight.
All right, next one for me to chug out of.
It was getting a little low. It's when they have air for that long.
Start to
and
oxidize
there's
a
a
little.
lot of headspace. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was starting to. I'm glad we finished it off tonight. Still drinking great. I mean, that's got nice rich fruit. The nose has gotten a little thin on it, but I love those.
Still a
It's
little
Old
oily.
Forester, man. It's fruit up front, spice in the back. I'm still getting the requisite clove, cinnamon, nutmeg.
But that's
thing
how
on the-
crazy it is.
yeah.
I mean, when you sit back and you look at it, I mean, Old Forester's Old Forester. I mean, like, and I've had bottles from the 60s. I've had bottles from the 50s. Like, it's just, it doesn't really matter. What's crazy to me is that one had more, like, airspace in it than some of the, like, Neptunes that I've seen, which I thought was just crazy. Like, how does that happen? So it's weird how that runs, how all that runs out. But, like, Old Forester's Old Forester. I mean, like, I've tried a million of them, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dry too, isn't it, on the back end?
Yeah.
Really dry.
I figured that wine background, you picked that up. But
Well, yeah, and 79. It probably spent, God knows what those barrels were. They're probably 8 to 12 years old that they were
oh, absolutely.
proofing down to 86 back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got that tannin, that dryness on the back end.
All right, we got another one coming around. This is
2003. Okay.
I believe, Matt, that it's 2003.
I just think it is.
That being said, somebody can probably read the code. I don't have the eyes or the vision.
Go down to
for
Brown
that.
Forman campus, go to the R&D lab, and
How do we do that?
look it up.
Hey, can I borrow that badge real quick, man?
Is there a special code word or passphrase that we can use to get limited access?
It's not that I don't care about you finding it out. I just want to try it.
Oh, so that was from.
Yes. I was hoping.
Which Rick House is that from?
Your phone or some
If
type of tool.
you know what, you could have said
Code.
anything at that moment, and we would have all been like,
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
really? Yeah.
I thought about it.
Yeah, that's our unicorn bottle that we lost some time ago.
And it's probably still older.
Oh, dude,
than
this is
Jerry.
a fruit bomb. Who brought this? Did you bring this, Carl? Oh, the legend did? Oh, should have known the legend brought this.
Where'd you find it?
I've had it for a while.
I almost brought an old Beam decanter because that was at least Brown Foreman, but
I didn't.
oh, way to go.
I had a couple old open ones, but I wanted to bring a fresh crack.
Nice.
We appreciate that.
That is a fruit bomb. That's delicious. Thanks, legend.
My pleasure.
No, I remember that one being on the shelf, and especially back when Old Forester was second from the bottom shelf. Nobody paid attention to it.
Nice, some apple. That's good.
Except here in Kentucky. I shouldn't say that because it's always been, Kentucky's bourbon and Louisville's bourbon. But
Yeah.
I was in Oklahoma, and there wasn't a lot going on with the brand.
Right. Yeah. What did they drink in Oklahoma back in 2005, 2003?
Wine,
Wine.
vodka.
Vodka.
Beer.
They hadn't picked up
Beer.
bourbon yet at that point?
No.
Very little?
No, very little.
That's why you have such a sophisticated wine palate?
I mean, I even remember in 2014, we had the two largest stores in Oklahoma, or 2 out of the 3, and we got 3 bottles of 2014 birthday bourbon, and it took us 3 weeks to sell them. They went on the shelf, and sold one week, sits there for a week, 2 bottles just sitting on the shelf, sell another one. So it was a good 3 weeks to a month that it took us to sell 3 bottles of birthday bourbon in 2014.
That's crazy.
And
I mean, I believe
14
it.
is my favorite year.
Well, the other
Really
thing
is
is,
your favorite year? Of
It
the
is my
birthday
favorite
bourbons?
birthday bourbon. Funny enough, and blindly, it was Jackie's favorite. I ran into somebody else recently who said they had the entire collection. He was
Right.
showing me photos, and he said 2014 was his all-time favorite.
I'm not sure I ever tried 14.
Unsolicited, I never said anything, and so I've heard that from multiple
So
sources.
before this
14.
airs, I'm going to have to go look for a 14 and buy
I know,
it.
man.
I think I
if
have
you ever
one.
find it,
You
grab
got
it?
it.
All
If
right.
you ever find it.
I'm pretty sure I have one.
Was there just like a specific note in particular that just tipped it over the edge for you guys?
Man, it
or-
was just so rich, and just perfectly balanced, smooth, but the finish went on forever. It
The
was
bourbon
just-
gods just said, "You did
Yeah.
this right."
Yeah, it was just like when you get those.
My brother worked at Liquor Barn during that time, and he said Pappy, all of them just sat on the shelf.
It
in
did.
14. Because
Even here.
There was,
Yeah.
he
I mean,
was
there
over
was
by
a
the airport.
there was a time when I first moved here and I didn't really know anything about bourbon, and someone was like, "Hey, you should try to go to Liquor Barn and ask for this Pappy," right? And I'm 21 years old at that point. I was like, "Yeah, can I chug it?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, you should go ask for it." So me and my buddy, we go to Liquor Barn, and I was like, "Hey, I called yesterday. You guys said you got your Pappy allocation, and can I buy a bottle?" And she pulled out a squat bottle of 10-year-old Old Rip, and then she pulled out a 23-year-old bourbon. And I'm 21 years old at the time, and they were like, "Yeah, it's $250 for this one bottle, or it's $39.99 for this one." And I was like, "I'll take the $39.91."
$39.99 all day.
Yeah, my minimum wage college job doesn't pay for.
I remember when they jumped from like that $39.99 to like $59.99,
Well,
and they
and it
literally
was-
sat on the shelf.
It was the old squat bottle too, and so
Yeah.
me and my buddy, U of L played football that night. I mean, that whole bottle was gone. We drank the whole bottle in one night. I fell asleep on his couch.
Too
It was
funny.
great.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight, I passed on a Pappy, right, from 15 years ago.
All right.
This is really good, Steven. This
This is
is
fantastic.
It's like
it is
peaches
fantastic.
and cream and pecans, and
Hey,
it's got all kinds
everybody
of fun
loves
stuff going
peaches
on.
and cream.
Yep. Peaches and cream. I can't remember how the song goes, but I know that's somewhere where it goes. Anyway, so
So I have a question, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
You made the comment about Old Forester being Kentucky's bourbon. I've come to the realization that, and I don't mean this to be racist in any way, that black people gravitate to Woodford and have no idea what Old Forester is. Is there a marketing difference in certain areas, do you think, or?
I don't, and if that's kind of the way it was historically, I think that's starting to change. We've the last 2 or 3 years, we've had the annual Black Bourbon Society that always books tours here, and they're huge fans of the brand. So I just
I'm
think
talking
that
about
it was.
I'm talking about normal customers off the street.
Well, I think it was just that Old Forester, I think that was most people, no matter who you are, if you knew Woodford, you didn't know Old Forester. And I'm not from Kentucky, all the distilleries, this is every distillery's home, but it's just from what I've learned since living here, it was like Kentucky was Old Forester's biggest market, and then Alabama because of Bear Bryant. And that's really the only 2 places that Old Forester did well. That was largely responsible for our 93,000 cases or whatnot that I talked about. And now that is completely shifted, but I think it was just lack of awareness.
and this is just my opinion. Obviously, I don't have a fact or anything like that. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, like, when Tyler was talking about that piece was the reinventing of the brand, right? When the Whiskey Row series came out, like, Old Forester all of a sudden got a resurgence of people looking into Old Forester as being a bourbon that people want to drink or that they want to try, and by reinventing themselves and by having all those new iterations, the Statesman, 1910, 1870, 1897, it then will start to broaden that market. I think at the base of where Old Forester was, by what he's saying, is there wasn't anybody really buying it, and it was a Kentucky mainly thing, Alabama mainly thing, and mainly it was just in bars. Like, it was the well bourbon that bartenders use to make cocktails and other things.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, regardless, just awareness of the brand has increased exponentially. So
From a retail standpoint, I was just surprised with somebody come in and asked for Woodford, and we didn't have it, and we offered
Old
1910
Forester.
Old Forester. They'd look at us like, "What's that?"
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, they're the same mash bill, and
No,
the yeast strains are cousins, but they are 2 entirely different, brands all together, and it's amazing how you pull a couple different levers and you can create something as diverse as Woodford. And then even within the Old Forester lineup, I mean, we make 12 different expressions out of that one mash bill, one yeast strain, and then we do everything that we do at Woodford. Now, granted, we're utilizing different mash bills and whatnot out at Woodford with regard to the wheat, the rye, and the malt, but the rest of it is usually Woodford Reserve Masters Collection. They're tweaking some things here and there.
I find this conversation fascinating because, as a black man, I actually learned about Old Forester before. Now I'm married into the region, and I think that had a lot to do with it because since my former wife's family had holiday parties, they always had Old Forester as like the house bourbon since the mid 2000s. So I discovered Woodford later, and I felt like it was kind of like a bougie, like bourbon. I thought,
right.
I was like, I want this working class bourbon right here. But I could see how maybe some people have already gone or always gone with Woodford and then just don't want to even give Old Forester a chance.
Yeah, and it can even depend on what's going on that little 3-month period. I mean, a country singer or a rapper talks about Jack or Woodford or Fireball in a song, and all of a sudden everyone who listens to that genre of music is showing up at the liquor store. You got Fireball, you got Woodford, you got Jack. I mean, it's
Fireball.
It's insane.
So what you're saying is there'll be a Taylor Swift bottle here in the future.
Go away. Who invited you?
Listen, I would buy a Taylor Swift bottle.
I know you would. So
has she sung about whiskey yet?
Or Happy Dad bourbon.
Yeah.
So I'm also a transplant to this area. I'm not originally from here. And not being from Kentucky, when I first moved here, I went to a U of L basketball game. And we were getting drinks from the bar, and they were like, look, you can either be a Maker's Mark fan or a Woodford fan, and you have to pick one of those two. And there were no other options, right? Because that was what was portrayed to someone who's not from the area, who doesn't know any better. They were like, pick Woodford or pick Makers, and then go from there. So it was really interesting.
Oh, it was like an intro bourbon, or
it was like choosing.
Fans,
it was
right?
almost like choosing sides, right? Like you had to pick, right? Do you want your
weeded or ride?
Right, and then that was it. That was your intro to bourbon. It wasn't. There was nothing else to consider at that point.
I also semi-agree with Kofi. Like, I felt like people thought Woodford was more of the bougie brand because it was a pot still, and like it was a little bit more expensive at the time than a lot of the other bourbons that came out. And then you had like the not really resurrection, but like the rise of like Angel's Envy. Then that became kind of the bougie brand and things like that. And then when the Whiskey Row series came out, people were like, damn, like this is Old Forester reinventing itself. And then once they started trying some of the things, they're like, oh, whoa. And I think everybody's got a favorite, right? Whether it's 1920, 1910, Hillman's a big, 1897. He loves that bottled and bond.
What? He likes Old Forester?
No, he hates it.
I know.
So, I mean, I think that's really what it boils down to. So, anyway.
So, a little transition question for you. With the kind of resurrection of all of these monstrosity distilleries that are coming online every other day, it seems like, right? We've got 4 or 5 new large distilleries that are producing, right, 30, 40,000 barrels a year. How do you see that impacting you guys as a brand and then the market in general?
I mean, I think it's all good for bourbon. It keeps the interest there. Now, longevity-wise, that'll be interesting. But I get that question all the time, like, and Chris Morris and I were talking about this the other day. Like, there was 12 distilleries in America when we built Woodford Reserve. You had 7, you had 8 in Kentucky, 2 in Tennessee, and MGP, producing all of American spirits. Now, I think the current number is 2,000 or 3,000, something to that effect. Now, a lot of those are very, very tiny, but I think you'll get to a point eventually where you get like what happened with craft beer, where there's just people get sick of the chase and just keeping up, and they will gravitate towards what they truly like and truly enjoy. And hopefully there's enough to go around for every distillery when we get to that point. But this this wave, I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. And this is just my personal opinion, but I have done the research, and I've written articles on this even back when the craft beer boom hit. From my personal experience, I think you can trace, this bourbon boom. There's a multitude of answers, but personally, I think you can trace it back to Food Network, like early 90s.
Yeah.
No one in America knew what wasabi or charcuterie was in the 1980s, right? McDonald's never had Chipotle ranch on a chicken sandwich. You get Food Network, you get celebrity chefs, America's palate starts to globalize, and you get a more diverse food culture. America's palate trends bigger, bolder, bigger, bolder. I also think that vodka's eyes got really big when the millennial generation was coming of age, and they thought that, hey, we can make 200 different flavors that all go with Red Bull, which is what these kids have been raised on, and
I
make
just
a
twitched.
killing.
I want you to know that. I can't stop twitching.
Make a killing, right? And it was probably a good business plan, and then turns out millennials come of age, and they want authenticity. They don't want artificial flavors. They want a story behind what they're consuming. So
Cherry Sky vodka and Red Bull sucks. I'm just saying.
you now have the biggest generation since the baby boomers that has totally shifted focus, bourbon, and the generation behind them, which they're influencing. So, I mean, hopefully we've got a good lifetime, generational 50 years of devoted fans, and that will keep us going.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's cyclical. It'll turn. The tide will turn once again one of these days. But I think we're in for a pretty good run.
We got art. You'd be fine. You'd be fine. So
not in my life.
And I only bring that up, right, because recently there's a lot of distilleries not in Kentucky that are kind of going under, right? You've got the whole East Coast. You've probably lost 6-7 distilleries recently. And then kind of across the United States as well, a lot of people aren't supporting the local markets like they used to. Now, a lot of that is because, right, Kentucky whiskey is playing in the NFL, and you have to compete with that at some point because it's so widely distributed. And so I feel like all of these monster conglomerate distilleries will try to help revitalize some of these brands, but I wonder if the art of bourbon making outside of the tri-state area is just going to get 100% lost because, it just isn't that financially.
Well, you got to be good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it takes time and a rich friend to be good.
With like 3,000 distilleries out there. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't. There's taxes to be paid, right? And you gotta have an income stream, and a lot of people got into it not considering taxes. I don't think.
No, it's tax exempt
because even at 4 years, we got to put the whiskey out. It's 4 years old, but maybe it's not ready yet. And I've had a lot of stuff that distilleries that we've been waiting on for a few years now to come of age, and they're getting some 4 and 5 year, and you taste it, and you're like, man, that's still not quite there yet,
Yeah.
I can think of one.
But it takes a ton of money to get it there.
It's just interesting to see it, like, right, there was an influx of everything, and now it's catching up to everybody. And so I wonder with these monster contract distilling only places, like, will that revitalize that over time? Or is it just like, hey, we know what recipe's good, and let's just kind of throw shit at it and see if it works? That was my kind of...
Right. I mean, that was kind of what I was saying. I think eventually, because you guys were all here when craft beer hit, right? And everything, breweries are suing each other because there wasn't enough names to put hop in.
Right.
They're all naming hop this, hop that, hop and blah, blah, blah. And then everybody had to have that IPA, and their collections just got huge. And then eventually you just can't keep up. The research, I mean, if you have a job and a girlfriend or a wife or kids, you just can't keep up.
Nope.
It gets exhausting.
Is there like a tap?
And at that point, you just say,
bourbon?
okay, I'm done. I'm going to go back to these 5 or 10 whiskeys or vodkas or whatever I really like, and take a little break.
Yeah.
While you were talking, I literally had a question, but it was one of those weird things that like it just blurted out, and I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. But tapped, like that's like a beer tasting.
Untapped, yeah.
Right? Is there like something like that for bourbon? I've never looked it up. I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, Willett's got their own app for the 17 million different single barrels they have.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I think
that's
there
just
is
different.
one. The podcast Dad's Drinking Bourbon has mentioned it one time. They mentioned it one time, and it takes like whiskey you like and stuff like that, and
Gotcha.
goes like that, and gives you other suggestions. And
You
stuff
can
like
register different ones and put your notes in, and yeah.
Gotcha. All right, I got a couple of quick questions, and we're going to try this next one. So first of all, do you have a favorite warehouse? And then two, tell us a little bit more about the newest release that's coming out.
You know, if I have a favorite warehouse, when I was running the single barrel program, and I guess I should have mentioned that, like the reason, if you're a listener and you're not familiar with the Woodford Old Forester dynamic, Brown-Forman, our parent company, owns both of them, and the reason I kind of go back and forth is I'm actually the distillery ambassador for both Woodford and Old Forester, so I spend equal amounts of time at both. When I was running the single barrel program with Old Forester, and I still kind of dip my toe in every now and then, fill in, I've had maybe iHouse. I've had a lot of really good barrels from iHouse.
Really?
Yeah.
That's one I haven't heard, I don't think.
Yeah, it's out there. The most amazing thing, the craziest pick I ever did was the state of Ohio. This was over COVID. So it's Ohio's state-controlled liquor, right? So they get whatever, let's say it's 5 barrels a year. And so we shipped them like 15 samples, and they picked their favorite 5 out of those 15. And this was blind. I was here in this office on a Zoom call, and they were in Ohio. And so they had all their samples, and blindly, every barrel they picked was the 5 I-5 barrels.
That's crazy.
From Fifth Floor House, and all the others were left out. And that was blind independent, and it was so cool.
Huh. Well, that's kind of neat. So what flavor profiles do you think you get out of I? I mean, obviously you get everything out of everywhere, but
right, it's just balanced.
To you?
I mean, overall, through my experience, I will tell you, K House that everybody goes crazy over is, I think, like classically styled Old Forester, right? It's got broad shoulders. Now this is general. Rich, bold spice notes, nice and dry, but you've got that good fruit backbone running through it. But it's classically styled, broad-shouldered Old Forester is what I call K House. J House is what I call the melt your face off warehouse. That's where we get, especially the upper floors of J, are your heat and spice. B, we don't seem to pull a lot of barrels from B House, and it was under construction for a while, getting new ricking and whatnot. I just like it because they seem to be dynamic. They're just good. They're balanced. The heat isn't overwhelming, but they've got good body and good viscosity, and they just kind of sit nicely on the palate and finish smooth but rich. Now, again, these are all generalities, but
right.
What other?
So, have you seen any hazmat?
Have I?
Yeah.
Go to market, or just out of a barrel?
Both.
Never go to market. I have not seen the highest proof I've seen. Go to market in Old Forester is 137.
137. Now, is there a rule like you guys won't allow hazmat to go to the market, or nobody?
I don't believe we do. I don't
Okay.
think we want to go there.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
That's probably just the legal department or whatever.
Gotcha.
But I've never seen anything over 140.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bacardi was getting sued left and right for 151, so it doesn't surprise me with hazmat that some places are just like, no, we're just not going to touch that.
Yeah, I think I've tasted a few older barrels that, especially out at Woodford, that have gotten up there. Yeah, I don't think that's something we'll ever. And I don't really think we need to. Right?
I didn't say you did. I was just kind of curious if we were seeing it, because
you get up into those echelons. To me, you got to have water.
Most of the time, it's got to be aged too, like 10, 12 years usually, typically, to get the hazmat.
It has to, yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't even sure how much stuff you all had that was aged that old, or that you all weren't already pulling, or things like that. That's the reason I was kind of curious.
Well, the thing is, when you go from 93,000 cases, or let's just say 100,000 cases, to 500,000 in 5 years, your stocks start to dwindle a little bit.
That's fair.
We used to, 2018, 2019, we probably had the luxury of sending some 6-7 year barrels out to market for single barrel programs and whatnot. But just like with everybody who's blending out in the market and not making their own whiskeys, those brands blow up and there's only so much out there. So those stocks start to dwindle considerably.
Right. All right. So 1924, the newest that's supposed to be coming out for the Whiskey Row series. What can you tell us about it? I mean, you said you didn't know a date or anything like that.
Correct.
So.
I can tell you what's on the TTB website.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Well, that's what cracks me up is because, the TTB is where all this information goes in, and it's gotten out there a lot more so this week because we were actually bottling 1924 last week. So everyone who got to tour the distillery, 1924 was rolling off our bottling line right here in downtown.
Right.
But yeah, anytime a new label comes out on the TTB, my phone blows up. It's like, what is this? What's going on? When? What? Where? Why? How? That's why you're on the TTB website, right? To 100%. Find out what we're doing before I tell you, or before we tell you. So
for the listeners at home,
kind of the
why don't
whole
you tell them
point.
how to do that?
That's kind of the whole point.
What's the significance of the date?
1924. So I can tell you this harkens back to the fact that we were
That's a great word, harkens.
Harkens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just came
I love
out.
it. No,
that
I know, it's great.
Out. I don't know where the hell it came from. It just
That's a great word. That's what I'm saying.
I blacked out when I woke up. You told me what I said.
just fell out of my mouth. Yeah.
That's your Midwest roots.
I guess so. But yeah, so it harkens back to the days of Prohibition, celebrates the fact that Old Forester was a brand that was on the shelf throughout Prohibition. We're, in fact, the only American brand that has been on the shelf for 153 years continuously, and that included Prohibition. But it's kind of funny. We were just talking about stocks, right? Dwindling stocks. So we're acquiring stocks of defunct distilleries, barrel warehouses, and whatnot, because there's a lot of sick people during Prohibition. So we're doing all right. But you also got to remember, that was a crazy time. Before the Consolidation Act, you're in competition with the likes of George Remus and Al Capone, who also want the whiskey that's in those warehouses. But this pays homage to the fact that, we were bottling what whiskey we could find. So it wasn't always the Old Forester mash bill, or all the barrels weren't necessarily Old Forester. You had to make do with what you had. So this is the first release that is not at least all the Old Forester mash bill. So it's part of the Whiskey Row series, but it's not necessarily Old Forester that and love. So it's a blend. It's a blend of whiskeys.
It says Howard Street, too. What's that mean?
That was our distillery back during those days.
Gotcha. So during Prohibition, that was where the distillery was on
correct.
Howard Street? Gotcha.
I think, there was one on Howard Street. This may be, I think there was a warehouse there, too, which maybe, it was the warehouse that we were pointing. The White Plains, I forget the street, it wasn't Howard, but this is where the warehouse was that we were, I think it was the Consolidation Warehouse, possibly.
Cool.
But pulling barrels, making do with what you had, so it's damn good, I can tell you that. But that's all we can tell. It's 100 proof. It was
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be a distiller-only release. It will be available to the public.
Via my basement.
I mean, it's part of the Whiskey Row series, so I believe this will go out as far as volume and where. I really can't speak to that. I'm not on that side of the brand.
Sure. Fair enough.
Allocations.
So we have one more special pour we just gave you there, and I think, did anybody else bring anything that I'm unaware of?
Yeah, you did. If I saw right, I think I was talking, but it looks like KOK.
There we go. Right. Absolutely. So this is was that the 2021?
Yeah. Which one is this? I didn't see the label.
Give us a little detail on this one, Jared.
Yes, so it is
older than you.
21. It is 14 years old, which is older than me. I am only 13 and a half. Just kidding. I am 21, so Scott doesn't get yelled at by anybody. It is barrel 18, Rick 7, warehouse I, floor location 3. Was barreled on 12/6/2006.
12/6/2006.
Thanks for taking some of my bourbon there, Matt.
Scott poured like a full Glencairn.
Well, the nose is
Dude, you
this
poured 4 fingers
insane.
into your Glencairn.
The nose is this.
I don't know Glenn or Karen.
What is that? Cola, root beer, confectioner's sugar. That nose is killer.
Definitely root beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, sassafras, root beer, yeah.
128.7 proof.
There's a little molasses in there, too, man. It's got some rich sugar notes.
Oh, that's so sweet on the palate.
Now, you work for Brown-Forman. What do you know about these? Or do you know anything about how these series came about or anything to that nature?
Yeah, I can tell you it's the early times mash bill and yeast strain. King fell under the early times umbrella, which we actually sold to Sazerac in 2020, but we sold early times. But thankfully, we kept King.
Gotcha.
So this will be.
So you will continue to make this mash bill.
We will continue to make King. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And of course, we kept the yeast strain as well.
Gotcha.
So our yeast strain is just one of those that it's one of the most crazy stories in bourbon. Like, I can't tell you it dates to pre-prohibition, but I can tell you it dates to 1930.
Right.
And you know, it's prohibition. Our master distiller back then was a guy by the name of Manuel Ice. He's working at a grocery store. Like, what's a master distiller going to do during prohibition, right? In 1930, we
bagging groceries.
Right. So imagine going to Kroger and Harlan Wheatley or Chris Morris is sacking your groceries.
Were you shopping there back then, Legend?
Kind of.
I said, were you shopping at that store back then, Legend?
I was in Michigan then.
Anyway, it's amazing. So in 1930, we get word for this distiller's holiday, right? And Owsley, he goes and he's, ditch the apron, dude, grab your stuff, we're back. And so they went out to the old Mattingly distillery, which is down around where modern day Makers is. And it's like, you think the yeast strain's still here? And they decide, well, theoretically it should be in some form or fashion. So what they did is they put out 12 buckets of unfermented mash in different areas around the distillery. And they come back 2 days later, it's inoculated, it's fermenting. They do just like we do today, start smelling and tasting it. And not it. If you know our yeast strain, it's known for rich bananas, apples, pears, and they find 2 buckets that they're like, either that's our yeast strain or it's as close as we're going to get. So those were the 2 buckets that they isolated back in 1930. And 78 1B and 1A, I think, is the early time strain. But that strain carried us forward all the way through the 70s. Technology got a little better. We were able to add more rye and whatnot to our mash bill. So the Old Forester strain was actually isolated in 1978 as a derivative of that 1A strain. So it's 1B. And then a few years later, we're creating a brand called Woodford Reserve, which we want to use pot still distillation. And the Old Forester strain actually creates a lot of fusel oils. It's a thicker, heavier, viscous mash, and that wasn't going to work. So we actually let that strain mutate in our lab under controlled conditions an additional 200 times and ended up creating the Woodford Reserve strain, which created more floral notes, richer fruit notes, but also a thinner, more watery mash that doesn't burn up in the pot stills that we use out at Woodford Reserve. Bottom line, that was a long way around, but I can't tell you that yeast strain, that we were utilizing it in any form or fashion pre-prohibition. The science doesn't exist.
Well, he could, but he'd have to kill you.
It dates back a considerable time. So
when you also
King of Kentucky harkens back to
1930
to that old yeast strain and that 1A early times yeast strain that we and we kept the rights to that yeast strain and that brand. So hopefully it's forevermore a part of the profile, because it is. I mean, I hear constantly people are like, King of Kentucky is the best bourbon I've ever had.
This year's King of Kentucky was one of the best bourbons I've ever had.
It was fantastic, for sure.
I mean, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, the two different barrels I've tried.
However,
have been fantastic.
However, 2019's King of Kentucky was better than 2023's King of Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the general consensus. That's the one that people say was the best.
19, yeah.
The bee's knees.
Where'd y'all come across this, by the way?
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
I know. I knew that's what we were
Do you want me to show you some pictures?
No.
I'll trade you for a yeast strain recipe.
Hookers and below, man. Hookers and below.
Yeah.
That's how we came across it.
I mean, I probably have 6 bottles of King of Kentucky at my house.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Well, good for you. You
Give
got
them
more
to
than I do.
But they're open.
Yeah.
They're open.
Good for you. Thank you.
I don't
bring them.
I'm not sure I buy that either.
And that's why
You've seen them. You've had them.
That's not true.
Address?
You always
One
say
of
they're,
them.
you always say they're at my dad's.
You've had one of them.
maybe one.
No,
I
the
don't
Kings are at
remember.
my house.
Okay.
What's your address?
Follow me home. It's fine.
No, that's what I appreciate about you guys. I've known y'all for a long time, and
I'll put it
it's
on
always
blast.
going to be open. It's you're never going to flip it or
The
see
18
you
years
acquire
not
it.
open yet.
No,
But I do have one of them.
So
You do have the 18.
I did play a funny trick with Matt. We were talking about doing some stuff, and I was going to put a UPC code with his phone number on it and see how many people caught up with it.
I would have died. It would have been great.
I was going to
Nobody
sell
would've
some stuff,
caught
but
up. Nobody
I literally had Matt's phone number there. I'm like, hey, does this look familiar? And he's like, no, man. He goes, but it looks fine, man. It looks great. And I'm like, yeah, I bet it does look great. And he's like, I sent it to his wife. His wife was like, oh my God. Knew right away.
She didn't know.
Saw it right away.
She saw it right away. You probably didn't know your own phone number. Oh goodness. So,
But yeah, King it's one of those that it's like the unicorniest of the unicorns because it doesn't have a home place. We don't release it at Old Forester. We don't release it at Woodford. We don't release it at Jack Daniels.
and they only release it in Kentucky.
It just shows up at
100%.
at some retailer, so
Only in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean that's the biggest thing. I mean when you release
which
something,
is why I
only
don't
in
have
one
any
state-
because I never have access to it.
I'll help you
I mean,
out. It's fine.
Yeah.
I got
okay,
you.
Yeah, you
I
know
got
where
you.
to get it apparently.
No, I don't. I just said I could help you.
Matt buys a lot of wine. We'll just put it that way. A lot of wine.
Man after my own heart. Yeah.
So
See?
Tyler does
Told you I
love
could
wine.
help you.
I was a psalm.
He was a
before,
psalm.
Yeah.
He was a psalm before he
still?
did this. Yeah.
Well, I guess once you are, you always are.
Never
Yeah.
leave.
You
I
don't
will
lose
tell
it.
you after 6 years in bourbon because
What
I
level
used to
song
walk
were you?
around with certified.
Yeah.
I used to walk around with 2,500 some wines in my head that I could talk about at a moment's notice. And after 6 years in bourbon, that angel shares out of your brain very quickly.
You're like, wine? Yeah, it's fine, but try this.
Seriously, yeah. People ask me, what's your favorite? What brand label should I get?
Oh,
And-
do you like Screaming Eagle? I heard it's great.
If I'm walking through a store, I can be like, "Oh, that's a good brand. That's a good brand." But thinking about it, that's all gone. Yeah.
There we go.
Did you know $3 Chuck is Napa wine? Everyone laughs, but look at the back of the box. It says it's a
Oh,
Napa,
yeah.
It says it's a Napa wine.
I'm finally getting back into wine, but after 12 years, there was a good 2-3 year period where.
What's the real famous box wine?
$3 Chuck.
No, what's
$2
the
Chuck.
Boda box?
Boda box.
Franzia.
Franzia? Yeah, Franzia. That's the big.
But
famous
literally,
one.
Trader Joe's $3 Chuck is
That's
Napa
pretty
wine.
sad. I just realized I said I don't remember wines, and I remember Franzia and Boda box. That's all I remember.
Well, yeah,
from
we
my
were all-
wine
we were
days.
all young.
So funny
Yeah.
story. In
Some of us are still young, but we.
in 1999, I went as a box of Franzia for Halloween, and
I did too.
I literally had a box of Franzia where my pecker goes.
Oh yeah,
And-
I did
and
that.
it had the
I
tap.
did that
so
as well.
Literally, the women were coming up and pouring themselves a glass of wine off of my.
All right,
costume.
so contest here, because
Scott fathered 12 people that year.
I did that same thing. I went to Kinko's and got the label printed out and put it on the front. But I even went so far as to get
You ever seen 2 boxes, 1 cup? It's these 2 right here.
the little. Jeez. God, no. The little cup dispenser that you buy at the liquor store that has the stick-on tabs. I stuck it up underneath the corner so little cups came out. Yeah.
And then
Told you guys 2 boxes, 1
And we
cup.
just got kicked out.
And like 3 years later, I went as a keg of beer. And
Did you?
I literally had a
That's cool.
5-gallon corny keg on my back, like a backpack.
Oh my
and
God,
I
you
carried
carried that around?
Yeah,
Jeez.
and I had a hose hanging down, and people would come up and just pick the hose up and just right off the draft.
You have a weird fucking fetish, Scott.
Listen, it killed for jokes the first year. I thought it would kill for jokes the second year. It did not go over quite as well because it was. I think it was some kind of oatmeal stout, and the ladies would not drink it. So
Good stuff.
So we've
How
all
do you
tried
go as bourbon?
crazy
Can
things
you
in our
strap
life.
a barrel around your shoulders?
I don't think I could carry a barrel full. Believe me, I would try. But I don't think I could. Maybe Carl could carry a barrel around.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, good deal.
You two could both be in the barrel together, one in the head, one in the tail.
Absolutely.
I was
That's
at our
not gonna
cooperage before Halloween, and they actually cut out. They took some bad barrels and cut out jack-o'-lanterns, made jack-o'-lantern barrels, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Until they lit it and
I've
realized
seen-
it caught on fire, and
I've
then
seen
we
those
have
on
a new
Marketplace.
Then we have
Have
to
you?
make a new whiskey
Okay.
road downtown.
Some dude made them on Marketplace.
Yeah, they make
and-
everything else out of barrels. Why not?
And
Jack-o'-lanterns.
he had some kind of weird music and LED lights on it. So as the music played, like the lights would change colors and stuff.
Was it
So on the inside of
$500?
Oh, they were like $550 or something. Yeah, but it was
Wow,
crazy.
That $70 bourbon barrel he bought is real.
Nice profit there, right?
Right?
I mean, yeah, he probably bought
ROI
$30
is
worth of
great.
miscellaneous crap and
Yeah.
$100 in, and
Probably
however
spent an
much
hour
time
to
it
do
took
it.
him. For sure. So, anybody got any questions? I mean, I feel like I've hogged up the mic tonight.
I feel like my memory's scarred from you in a Boda box, but whatever.
Whatever, dog. you want to get on that tap?
No. That tap is dry, and we all know that.
It really is. It got snipped about 16, 17, 8, almost 18 years ago now.
I have a question. Will you two shut up?
Well, we are an hour and 11 minutes in, so.
All right. So, as the oddball here, because I am the only female in this room, Tyler, my question for you is: are you seeing an influx in women coming into bourbon, or even coming in just for the tours around this place?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think the women in whiskey and groups like that continue to expand around the country and garner more members and whatnot. Just from my standpoint, because I do most of our education and brand advocacy with those that sell our brands around the country and around the world, and I've been very busy the last couple of years due to the fact that so many of those staffers are new and they've never been to our home places. So, and I can tell you a good percentage of them are women. So, and people who sold whiskey to liquor stores and restaurants, that was a male-dominated industry since time immemorial, I think. I mean, it was all men.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you
And
see
I think
it's
that's
almost 50-50.
Okay, so you're seeing it's a really good equal mix at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you seeing more women wanting to drink it more neat, or are they more preferring it, with a couple of drops of water or with ice or in a cocktail?
They like it kinky.
Oh, legend, whatever.
I'm not as hip on what they're drinking when they're drinking it for their own pleasure, right? Because I'm usually it's an educational it's an educational kind of situation when I'm presenting them with these whiskeys, but. I think there's more and more of them drinking it neat. Y'all are much better tasters than we are.
I've been saying that for years, and people thought I was crazy.
Well,
You
no,
are
it's true.
crazy.
No, it goes back to, wine, same thing, but
Women
it goes-
tasted and gathered, right? Like they picked up stuff and tried it.
No, it goes back to
Caveman. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They picked up herbs and
They
fruit.
picked up
and-
herbs. Og, the caveman, might come home with a rancid leg of meat or a poisonous mushroom or something. He eats it and keels off. Nobody cares. Mom, who is with baby, can taste that something's wrong with the food. She survives. The whole human race continues on. So to this day, you all have like 30 to 50% more taste buds than we do. And proof positive, you see Melissa Rift, Elizabeth McCall, who is now the official master taster for Woodford Reserve, Marianne Barnes and Jackie Zeichen back in the day with Brown Forman. More and more distilleries, I think, are getting wise. We certainly are at Brown Forman that you need talented women on your staff to, keep up and make the best whiskey you can.
Michter's is another place.
Yeah. There's we're one of many, but yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's interesting because it has always been considered really a man's drink to finally see where this shift is happening, where it is becoming where everybody is understanding that the women do have a little bit of a unique palate and can pick out different notes that other people can't. And like you were saying,
without a doubt,
it's got to come down to those taste buds. Scott mentions it all the time. I'm usually the oddball in the podcast because I come up with different things.
No, 100% for sure.
Well, and
that's why
thankfully you
that.
are, because I always make the joke that because anytime anybody asks, how do I get your job or how do I become master taster, master distiller, you never will. If you're asking that question, because that's the person that.
If you have to ask.
If you've ever seen the Peter Griff, the Family Guy, when he gets the job at the brewery and he goes in the door and then 2 seconds later he comes out and he's naked and he's just like,
that would be me.
So very few women would ever do that. So
I'd be Homer Simpson.
Yeah. much more in control of yourself if you have to taste whiskey for a living, right? Yeah.
The one thing I noticed 2 years ago when I worked at Old Forester is that the women who were tour guides, who were in the retail shop, had a passion for bourbon, for the industry, probably more so than the males.
Than the guys. Oh, yeah. We are insanely blessed, especially here at Old Forester. Our tour guides, our retail associates are amazing, and they're passionate people. Like, they love the brand. They love sharing it with people. They love seeing light bulbs go on in people's heads when it makes sense to them.
They certainly push me.
Yeah. But I think that's what I love about bourbon industry as a whole. It's a passionate. I was just doing a documentary with some folks walking through here that are making a documentary on Monday, and they come from an art background, illustrators for DC Comics, a producer for Broadway, an actor for Broadway, a composer, sound composer for video games and Broadway musicals and whatnot. And those are, they're art and passionate trades, which I think bourbon is. Bourbon seems like you just think of backwoods Kentucky guys with beards making whiskey, but this is truly, it's an art form, and the people who are in the industry are passionate individuals, definitely.
To borrow a line from another distillery, which I absolutely love, there is a wall at Rabbit Hole that says, "Bourbon is a verb." And I truly, truly believe that.
I love that. I've never heard that.
Yeah. It's bourbon is for sharing. Bourbon is for so many different things. And
that's a great line. Yeah.
That's
why we brought him, right? I mean,
bourbon is life. That's what the legend says.
It blew me away when I read that, and I've got a picture of it on my phone, and I just every once in a while I share that with somebody, and it's just I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
The legend harkens back to those days where the cave women were tasting and sampling.
Oh, that just came full circle.
Wow. I can't believe you called the legend old. That's just rude.
Anyways, Bourbon Barrel Talk word of the day is harkens.
Harkens. Yeah. Listen, I'm always impressed when a new word comes up that I know, but like it's fancy. Like that's easily a $10 word.
Bougie.
It is a bougie word. Harkens is definitely a bougie word. Tyler just like grasped it like it was like everyday vernacular. He's like, it harkens back to the day of 1930.
I was like, holy shit, what kind of lesson are we about to get right now?
When men were men and sheep were scared.
That's how they talk in Oklahoma.
Exactly. That's where I hearkened it from. From Oklahoma.
Were the sheep
from
scared
Texas,
of your barrel tap?
Oklahoma. Sit around and talk and watch the hawk making lazy circles in the sky. You know you belong
All right, Scott.
to the land.
We love you.
Come on, dog.
Enough. All right.
Any other questions for Tyler, for the legend? I mean, we've got years of experience and wisdom at the table today, man. We don't usually have that much of that. You usually are dealing with me, so.
I think you're pushing your luck, but go for it.
Do you think this push towards finished products, especially within like the craft distilling space, where do you see that going? And does Old Forester is that just not something that you all want to?
Please stay away from it.
I think you're going to continue to see
stay
finishing.
Away from it.
Huh?
Please stay away from it.
Well, I mean, but you whether or not we release something that's finished, I think you have to dip your toe in that space and experiment, right? I mean, we want to make the best whiskey we can. And wine is a perfect example. The best wines in the world are blends. Blends of different grapes. They don't all come from one vineyard necessarily. So I think we'd be remiss to not play around with, there are attributes of Madeira and port and sherry that I absolutely love, that certain whiskeys I've had, when you marry those, it's outstanding. So I don't know if we'll ever have a full line or part of the Whiskey Row series that's going to be finished in sherry cask or whatnot. Can't see that, but I think you're going to see
a single malt?
I think you're going to see finishings. I think all the distilleries will start playing around with that, if for no other reason than just to keep up with innovation and keep people interested and engaged. What's the newest thing? That's what's great about something like 117 series. We could easily do a port, sherry, Madeira, whatever finish, and it's one time, and if it doesn't work, then say la vie, move on, try the next thing.
And see, this is where I go back to your comment about people picking the things they really like and ignoring
Certainly.
all the stuff that is out there that's
Right.
new
Well,
and different and blah blah blah. I mean, I am a traditional bourbon drinker, rye drinker. I have had very few things finished that I would ever want.
No, I understand that.
And it's like coffee. I want it black.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there's certainly, and I think the purist will continue to rule the bourbon category. But I mean, to Yoel's point earlier, if some of these thousands of distilleries do start to fade and go by the wayside, and you're back to the big players, I think people still want innovation. They'll still want something new to try this summer or this holiday season. So we may have to step up to the plate and provide that. Who knows?
I mean, I think there's innovation that you can do with woods and secondary barrels and things that don't involve wine or
no,
port
there is.
or-
I mean, that's why we own our own cooperage.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's stuff that we've done that we're the only ones able to do. But Chris Morris, he did sassafras barrels. He thought toast and char sassafras barrel, maybe it'll impart a root beer note into the whiskey. Epic fail, but I think we're the only ones that have ever tried that. So we've constantly and will continue to push the envelope with regard to. Now that's no longer bourbon, right? It's not oak.
No, it's not bourbon.
But
it's whiskey.
It's whiskey.
It's whiskey
so
with
cherry,
it's whiskey with a bourbon mash bill and
yeah, but cherry, pecan, maple. I mean, we did maple for Jack Daniel's Gold.
Yep.
Made great whiskey, beautiful barrel. We'll never do that again because you had to dip the whole thing in wax because we didn't remember that if you put a hole in a maple tree, it leaks. That's what maple does.
Yeah.
So
Literally leaks, and it's very porous to begin
kind of
with.
what
I mean,
it's known
super
for, right?
porous wood.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with that kind of experimenting. It's the moving it into wine barrels or brandy barrels or whatever. I mean, I know there's a new one that out on the market that is finished in tequila casks.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
That's interesting.
Mary
Not doing
Dowling.
But yeah, I mean, I do think you'll
from
continue to
Revenue.
see innovation for the next foreseeable future, definitely. Whatever space it plays in.
So you brought
TBD.
up coffee and black. So I will say this. My favorite saying about that is I like my coffee and my women the same way. Strong and slightly bitter.
Boo, that was a bad joke.
Your mom's a bad joke.
I can't make a comment because she listens.
Fair enough.
I can't wait to hear Becky's response to that comment.
Yeah, she won't listen. For that matter, she doesn't pay attention to me anyway. So, all right, we're bringing out the birthday toast.
This is the birthday.
It's the birthiversary, right?
The birthiversary, right? So I just went to my office and got a little treat here. So we're gonna taste through this year's birthday
to your
bourbon.
office.
I just casually walked to my office and pulled out a bottle.
Quality control.
Hey, be gentle over there, man. Be gentle over there, legend.
Oh yeah, you're one to talk.
Scott, you're the only one that's poured a 4-finger pour.
You almost
tonight.
finished off Jared's King of Kentucky,
Yeah,
Scott.
that king was up to the label before Scott got it.
Hell, Scott, you even poured more than a barber pour.
Listen, I wasn't paying attention. I was listening to Tyler, and I looked down. I was like, "Oh shit!" It was a masterful pour.
This will be my first birthday bourbon I've had.
No, you didn't have the birthday bourbon when I brought it last year. Did you? Oh, you missed the
I wasn't
episode.
there.
You missed. That's right. All right, I'll bring the 2022 to you the next time I come over.
Jasnoff chugging this one too.
If it makes it to me,
If it
Barbara's
makes it
pouring
to you,
right now.
Barbara's pouring.
I think there's a.
I
there's
think
one in
there's enough
reserve
for you to
here.
pour a little and give a little Matt, and I got a little Matt for Matt too. Anyway, if he
Scott.
needs it. Oh wait a minute, never mind.
Yeah, but I can't
Oh,
chug
shit.
out of that.
I could.
I could, but I'm not.
Chigga chigga chig, chigga chig. Here, you got a fresh?
Scott, just
I will say fresh isn't always the best when it comes to
I want
older
the- I don't
bourbon,
want the
right?
neck- I don't want the
You-
neck pour.
You want a little oxygen.
You want this, and I'll take the neck pour.
I'll take the neck pour.
No, I
yeah.
got it, guys. Relax.
We started. Scott was like, "Oh, we won't be 2 hours."
Hour and 27 minutes in. You're right. Sometimes I'm wrong.
Sometimes.
We're having a good time. It's okay. It's all good. It's just going to take me a long time to edit this. So, anyway, to 4 years of fun, bourbon, and to my favorite, Old Forester. Cheers.
Happy birthday, guys! Here's to many more years.
Banana.
Oh, my goodness.
Damn, that's good.
Oh, man, that's really good.
This was a fun one because this is the same juice as the 2022. So 2022 was 11 years, and then we took half of that lot and we just aged it a year longer. So,
Really?
yeah. So
Can we get one on our way out?
Thank you for aging it a year longer.
thank
We're going to
God,
open the gift shop.
Thank God I cannot log into the retail shop. They don't let me. All right. Yeah.
Thank you for aging it a year longer.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, this is like, I mean, the banana on this thing is just crazy. And it's
fun,
just
isn't
got so much baking spice. It's got some nice cinnamon, some clove.
Dude, the fruit.
It's always the question, and of course I can't.
Vanilla
Yeah.
killer, I know.
It's always the question these days, and I can't really go into it, but are you going to make more birthday bourbon? And the answer is, I mean, to an extent, yes, we're trying to. We know that people want birthday bourbon, and it's one of those unicorns out there, but you also got to remember this stuff is typically 9 to 12 years old for every release we do. And 5 years ago, we were at 100,000 cases, as I mentioned earlier. So you can't predict that needing that much more birthday bourbon, right? So,
Right.
and even if we did see that 5, 4, 3, 2 years ago, whatever the case may be, you're 9 to 12 years from if
Maturity,
you did make
right.
more,
Yeah.
from the next release. So it's one of those things. I mean, it's truly special. It was one of the first of its kind out there in 2002, and a lot of this stuff got closed out to $39.99 a bottle around the country. No one wanted to pay $89 for bourbon in 2002. And
Still, my favorite story ever about
Here
a
we are
birthday
today.
bourbon was in 2004 at my wife's
2004. Okay.
2004. My wife, she worked for Mercy Academy at the time, and they had a charity auction there, and there was a bottle of Old Forester birthday bourbon that was signed by Mr. Brown, and nobody was bidding on it. It was me and one other dude,
my God.
and the guy dropped out at like $55.
Oh my God!
And I was like, all right, I'll take that for $55. So the funny thing is, I recently bought one, and I just had tried it, and it was delicious. But I still have that bottle. It's never been opened, and I'm just like, when am I going to open that bottle?
Oh, really? You have it?
I still
Wow.
have it, yeah. So I've got to come up with a special occasion to do for that one. But, I mean, I still have it. It's the 04, so.
I'll give you $65 for it.
It would be a profit. I don't know if inflation would cover for the profit
And
amount.
apparently
though.
we haven't had enough special
we can
occasions
bid. I'll
to
go
where
75.
Scott could
Oh,
find
yeah.
a time to do this.
I probably will crack it at my kid's wedding.
There you go.
All right.
It'll probably be a wedding bottle.
Where we're all
I
invited.
love that.
We're all
Yeah.
invited.
Well,
Yeah.
we're all invited.
Man, it'll be a fat wedding.
So,
So
So
for
Tyler-
sure.
Open Old Forester bar. What? Sorry, I'm just throwing that out there.
What do you
So-
think of this secondary market and how that's just
No,
kind of
stop
changing
it.
availability?
No, go away.
What?
No.
I mean, Tyler has an opinion on, I'm sure, about the secondary market, but it is what it is. I
we
mean,
don't
I
have
think
time,
that's what
we don't
he's
have
gonna tell
time
you.
for this.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's good. People care. It's better
We've
than
also- we've
I will
also
say
ruined
it's
retail.
It's better than the opposite.
well, it's better than the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah, but we've ruined
Um,
retail.
yeah, we've absolutely ruined retail.
Right, but in most of the distilleries, I think, are of the same thinking. We don't want it to go to wine. We were talking about, I know you're into wine, and I obviously have a wine background. And wine has that aura of snobbishness and elitism.
What? Wine
And
people
you-
aren't snobs.
And you got to be able to afford the best wines out there, right? So I don't see a lot of that going on in the bourbon industry. I think we want, whether if it sells for $5,000 on secondary, great, but we want to keep it at least accessible to the fans that got us here in the first place and the people that have rallied behind bourbon in the last 10, 15 years.
Even if
And
they
brought
spend
it-
the night 2 nights before.
brought it back to prominence. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. But again,
Hey, dedication's dedication.
we haven't released birthday bourbon here at the distillery in the last 2 years.
Like I said, we've ruined it.
Because of that. Yeah.
The consumers ruined it. I mean,
Yeah.
they did.
Got people getting in fights, police escorts. I mean, that's not
That's
not
how you know your
fun.
whiskey's good, right?
It's not
I
good
will
for
say
anyone, but-
the 117 releases are fire because you get free cookies.
It's true.
Free cookies
know.
and free coffee.
Even if I got to go to Woodford that day, I usually show up that morning, get my cookie and coffee. How y'all doing?
I'm out there and Tyler's coming out like, hey Scott, how are you?
Funny seeing you here.
I think that's been the last 2 or 3 times.
I'm like 75th in line. Like,
I
please
know
let me.
Scott's
Please let there
He's
be
like,
enough
am I
bottles.
good?
Please
I'm
let there
like, I
be-"
think you're good. Yeah.
So
So Tyler, how many bottles of birthday bourbon are generally produced this year or other years?
This year I don't even know. I think a couple years back it hovered around 14,000 somewhere in there. So it's a good amount.
a reasonable number.
I mean, birthday is a single day's production,
Right.
which is usually 125 to 150 barrels. Now you get to 12 years,
I mean,
5 or 8 of those might be empty by then.
I
Just
mean,
from leaks.
I know the raffle on September 2nd is just a small portion of the release, but I never really knew how many bottles.
Yeah, I
there
mean,
were overall.
it is a nationwide release, so it goes out to all the liquor retailers.
I
but
do
then
have
that
one
has to
complaint
be
about
divvied
that.
out.
You do not ship to Indiana, and I live in Indiana.
Then
No
drive
Are you
across
saying
the
no
bridge.
birthday bourbon goes to Indiana?
We can't get it in the lottery, like in the release. Like I can't put my name in the thing and buy a bottle.
Well,
because-
no, there's only 5 states that we can ship to.
I know.
currently
You know,
legally.
if it-
So that's the only tomfoolery I'm calling.
What do they say? Contact your local congressman.
You got to pick it up here anyway.
Don't bitch at me about it.
I know, but it won't even let me buy it online. Like I was in the queue, and then when I went to go
wait.
pay, it wouldn't let me pay because I lived in
Oh,
Indiana.
117, you mean?
No, it was the board.
No,
No,
it
it
was
was
the
the 117
117 'cause you
releases.
timed
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Okay.
Because birthday, you got to come here.
yeah. I know.
Birthday
It was the
bourbon-
117.
Birthday
That's right.
bourbon just a raffle.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you can't send a proxy. You gotta.
yeah.
you
It was
gotta
the
come in
117s.
person.
Yeah.
Well, that I get. Yeah.
Sad face, Scott.
If you cross the bridge and you're like gambling used to be, if you cross the bridge, can you sign up? And
No, you have to have an
your
actual Kentucky address.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
the address.
Do you work in Kentucky?
No, I work in Indiana. I told him I was just start putting Matt's address on everything, but I'm afraid I would get him flagged. and
You
he
could.
wouldn't
I
get
don't
it.
care.
You need to get a
I
part-time
don't get it
job at
anyway. I
White
don't get it
Castle or
anyway.
something.
Part-time job at White Castle.
That is
I
is your business address.
I can get you a Kentucky address for a price.
away. Yeah.
For a price. Our address is 117 Main Street.
That would be funny.
Isn't that the address here? 117? 119. 119.
119, 117.
I was in the ballpark. Come on.
It was 117. That's
was
hence
it?
the 117
Oh, that's
series.
right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. Well-
That's what this room we were in was 117, but the front door is actually at 119, which historically was the building next door.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Now it's all one.
Well,
Wouldn't it-
Tyler, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
You were here.
Wow, the third old joke about the legend.
Are you saying that he predated
I guess
addresses?
no.
Is that what you're
Steven's
trying
probably
to say?
right. Steven's probably right. It would come from here. So 117, 119. Anyways, they morphed at some point.
Either way, it's not 117, it's 119, and I screwed that up. But anyway, funny.
I love you, Tyler.
I love you, sir. It's great to see you again. Great to hang, share
All
some
right.
whiskey.
Well, anyway, Tyler, thank you so much for your hospitality. I think that's our episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk for our Birthiversary for 4 years.
I'm your host, Scott Minton.
Absolutely. And if you want to find Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can find it on
Any social media platform.
Facebook, Instagram, or the
X.
There we go. And if you want to email us, you can email us at, come on, man, bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. Man, y'all are slacking. I'm going to take over from here. Anyway, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you get those episodes as soon as they land. This is Scott, Matt, Barbara, Kofi,
Wow. Way to go.
Tyler,
buddy.
Carl, the legend, and Jared, and Johnny Tsunami signing off. Peace.
Peace out.
Do I make you Randy?